Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and the video you are about to see is from our full hour and a half live stream show, which we do every Sunday at 2 p.m. PDT, by the way, exclusively on Rumble. The only way you can watch it after the fact in replay is by subscribing on Patreon, Subscribestar, or on X at @WorldAltMedia for $5 or more a month, and we really appreciate the support. We need it, and we do a lot of back and forth. We do multiple reports. We do Q&As and everything, so I urge people to check that out. A lot of content there, and I appreciate it. I want to tell you guys, this video here today is sponsored by a man by the name of Chris Horlocker of Equibit. We recently did an interview with Chris Horlocker on the targeting of him by the government of Canada and how they have surveilled him, how they've sent agents into his business to try and disrupt and destroy his work. This was a guy who was probably the youngest ever CFO in Canada, in Canadian history, and he has a website called equibitlawsuit.com. I want everyone to go there and take action if you can, involving sending emails, maybe donating to them. They do amazing work. Of course, they have tons of evidence listed on the equibitlawsuit.com website, and I hope people go and check that link in the description. He is suing the Canadian government. He is suing the people involved, and he's setting a precedent for those who have been spied on and surveilled, because of course the video you are watching today is on the mass surveillance of the masses, and that involves things like flock cameras, which we've reported on extensively. We play clips of how they're planning to expand this with social media and more. And of course, I highly recommend people check it out because, again, we have Kim.com making comments. We have pushes to surveil you at grocery stores and determine what prices are on the shelf based on your essential social credit score, based on what you say on social media, and even develop drones that can kill you. Very important to understand all of this stuff. So, again, I appreciate equibitlawsuit.com as a sponsor of today's video, and again, you can find the full show over on Patreon and Subscribestar, so go and check that out. Links are in the description. Without further ado, here is the report from our live show. So yeah, we have a lot of things to go into today, specifically on the topic of mass surveillance. We obviously talk about mass surveillance a lot. Hello, Gonzo Johnny, thanks for joining us. And like I said to everyone, hit the like button if you haven't yet already. We're going to be going into mass surveillance today, and we're going to be playing some clips. We are going to be hearing from people like Whitney Webb, Kim.com, and Tim Dillon, among others. So I'm excited to bring all this to you. And without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into the reports. And once the reports are finished, we will be going to take questions from the audience. Super chats or paid comments are very much appreciated to help support us, as always, my friends. Again, and for those that missed the live stream, as I've said before, they could go on Patreon or Subscribestar and pledge $5 a month on there to get this exclusively. Because once the live stream is finished, the recording of it goes down. The only way to find it is on those sites. So anyway, let's get into this. So 6 former Savannah Police Department employees are under criminal investigation after being fired for allegedly misusing surveillance cameras made by Flock. Check this out.
This morning, 6 former Savannah Police Department employees, including 4 officers, are now under criminal investigation after being fired for allegedly misusing these controversial surveillance cameras made by the company Flock.
Totally honest, I'm disappointed. I'm pissed off about it.
The employees allegedly using the system to make personal searches involving family and acquaintances. The high-tech AI-powered cameras read license plates and store that data for police departments to use. Over 120,000 deployed nationwide to help fight crime. They're on streetlights, bridges, and highways. But backlash is growing amid rising reports of misuse. Dozens of officers now charged or accused of using the technology inappropriately, including stalking. This North Carolina police officer arrested for allegedly using it to track her boyfriend's ex-wife more than 30 times.
Shocking, isn't it? Just absolutely shocking, my friends, that this woman is stalking her exes with flock cameras because she has access to the databases, which shouldn't be a thing anyways. We know about the use of flock cameras for mass surveillance already.
She's set to appear in court at the end of the month.
That's what bothers me the most, that the people that use this stuff for personal gain.
Critics also calling these cameras an invasion of privacy. Some are being vandalized in acts of protest. In Texas, this camera cut in half. And in Minnesota, a man posting these videos of himself covering up the cameras with tape, telling ABC the technology is dangerous. But Flock telling ABC News their cameras do exactly what they're supposed to do.
We helped in over 1 million crimes last year.
This is a guy who recently said that, and he was, I think, the CEO of and founder of Flock, has said recently that anyone starts websites that point out where Flock cameras are and surveil where Flock cameras are to let drivers know about it, that anyone that is involved in that is a terrorist. Yeah, that's right. So anyone that surveils Flock is a terrorist, but Flock surveilling everyone, totally fine, I guess, according to him.
10,000 missing people.
And some agree.
The benefits, I believe, outweigh the issues here.
Give up a little bit of liberty for a little bit of temporary security, and you will get and deserve neither, as Ben Franklin once said.
Flock saying that criminal acts like vandalism should never be the answer here as people continue to make their voices heard in this ever-present debate about individual privacy versus public safety.
So, yeah, there's a lot to delve into here, and I want to remind people that over on our channel, you can find our video recently. I went in depth with Flock. I did a 59-minute and 21-second video called The Truth About Flock Cameras. That's up on Rumble and BitChute and all these sites. I highly recommend people go and check that video out. Very important. If you want to hear the full breadth of this situation, you can go and check it out there. I think it's very important anyway. Now, carrying on here, we have this. Thomas Massie made an announcement regarding Flock. Check it out.
How many fans of Flock cameras do we have in here? I heard a few boos. I didn't hear any claps. The government, yeah, we could all be safer if we all wore body cameras and head cameras and we had them in our living rooms and our bedrooms and on the street corners. It might make us safer, but in another way, it's going to make us less safe. And we cannot be trading our freedom of movement, our freedom of privacy for a little false promise of security. And these Flock cameras have already been abused, just like the FISA program has been abused by the FBI. I mean, the FBI goes in there and looks up people on Tinder, some of these FBI agents, or looks up girlfriends that they've had to see if they're in the files. Well, you get the same thing going on with Flock cameras. We don't elect angels to Congress. I guess you already knew that. But neither are the people who run these systems. And so we're far better off having our privacy. And so I'm going to introduce a bill that says that we're not going to give any federal money in order for it to be constitutional. I don't think I have the ability to ban Flock cameras in any given city, but I sure do have the ability to say we're not going to give you money for the Flock cameras. And so my bill will basically, as they say, follow the money. If you get grants for your police department or your municipality, whether it's a city or a county, to enforce safety or to provide protection of your citizens, we are not giving you that money to buy Flock cameras or if you use Flock cameras. And I know there are other brands of cameras, so we're going to write the legislation so that they can't change the name of the camera and get out of this.
Like Axon. Now, that's interesting, but, you know, as people like Dr. Jane Ruby wrote below, and Thomas Massie has been on our show multiple times, like, I mean, it's interesting, but Dr. Jane Ruby wrote below, how convenient, after several million have already been implemented, the I've introduced a bill routine. I don't agree with her that Massie is a theatrical fraud. He's someone that has been speaking out against this stuff for a long time, but also only has very little power because, again, it's government. I mean, I don't know what anyone really expects. But nonetheless, he also posted this. Thomas Massey says, I'll soon be sponsoring a bill to withhold federal money from municipalities and police departments that deploy flock and other style cameras to surveil law-abiding citizens. It says, don't flock me. And declaration of memes posted below, tea in the harbor moment, don't spy on me. And it shows them cutting down these cameras. So, yeah, absolutely. And we have this in only a few years. A surveillance startup Flock has installed more than 100,000 license plate readers, cameras across the United States. Now, it's more than just a license plate reader. There's evidence that it gets your face and has facial recognition capabilities and is documenting all of this. All the data is available, which puts everyone's privacy at risk. And, but look, we can find people that are committing crimes. Well, remember that they're pushing for pre-crime surveillance in places like New York, and we have President Trump extending the FISA 702 and allowing mass surveillance, warrantless surveillance on people. And this also includes massive amounts of cameras being put on interstates all over the United States, which can track and trace people and with AI determine if people seem suspicious in, today they didn't drive that way. Today, and we've got a backup that tells us all the places they usually drive. Today they drove that way around that street. So what are they up to? And that allows them to pull them over and question them. And how is that probable cause? I don't know. You tell me. It's very concerning. Again, it's this idea that under the guise of security and safety, they're going to help save us, even though the very people causing the chaos, causing the danger, causing all these issues is the state in the first place. But again, as I've said for so long, they get around the constitutional law on these things by using private companies, big corporations, incorporated. What are they incorporated with? Whom are they incorporated with? The state. And they get around constitutional law this way, and it allows them to essentially say, well, you're allowed to film police on the streets if you're in public, and if you say you're not, then you disagree with your right to film, so therefore you can't do that, and Flock can't do that. But until then, Flock can record you whenever you want. See, they're using our rights to the First Amendment right, of course, of being able to film in public. But we're a private company. We have the right to film on a public sidewalk. See what they're doing here? It's like they're bringing us for that ride so that they can claim hypocrisy over it. And yes, they do have the right to film on a public street. It's just that they are conspiring against people, and people have the right to have, a visceral reaction to it. And they have a right to, there are consequences to any action, of course, that is deemed bad and that is deemed abusive to people. So with that, I'm sure we will see the continued push to cut down these cameras. Again, I'm not advocating any of that, but I will say that it is happening a lot, and there are huge campaigns to help support people who are cutting down some of these cameras when it comes to court cases, which are across the board. There's a lot of them. Now, Knoxville police in Tennessee, who have replaced Flock cameras with Axon, say the public must now accept mass surveillance as a new normal because Axon is safe and effective and for your own good, they say. Where have we heard that before?
What would you say to ease people's minds about these?
I can speak for the Knoxville Police Department, and I can speak for our commitment as an agency to use this technology the right way. Our commitment to building, again, strong policies that ensure that the technology is used the way it was intended to be used, and that we are committed absolutely to being transparent with how we're using that technology. Just talking about LPRs is, again, circling back to this, is it is one of the most impactful investigative tools that have come into policing in decades. And so I want people just to really hope that people will take the time to understand how their police department is using LPRs, the policies that we have in place, and how we deal with these situations, whether it has to do with LPRs or anything else, when there might be anything that's outside of policy. And so that's what I would say when you're looking at technology, the RTIC. We're an open book. We've got nothing to hide. And we want the community to understand what technology we're using and how we're using it.
We got nothing to hide, but if anyone dares to, surveil the people who surveil them, then, well, apparently they have something to hide because they say that you're a terrorist. And, of course, they say the technology will be used the way it was intended to be used. BlackRock and Vanguard are the largest shareholders of Axon. Shocking. The we will own nothing, you will own nothing and you will be happy people are behind this. Now, with the massive surveillance out there, and again, I urge people to check out my video on Flock cameras. It's about an hour long. I delved into it deep and play a lot of clips and go into the background. Also, one of the things they're planning with this insane rollout is actually this drone system. They're putting out surveillance drones everywhere, and China already has these exact drones, and you see them actually fly with AI into these little nests upon street poles, and they are charged and everything through there, and they upload data and all that kind of stuff. And then they come out of the thing opens the box, and these drones come out and continue surveilling. They already have that in China. Now they're doing that with Flock. They're creating this system. Flock tried to work with Uber. Apparently it didn't. The deal fell through. But in 2025, they tried to deal with Uber, where Uber filmed you at all moments of the day, and if you're in one of the cars, and it's just, how is that a license plate reader? I think that's them recording your face. They basically acknowledge all the things they claim at the same time simultaneously are conspiracy theories. It's amazing. But yeah, they have these things in China first for a reason, because China is a guinea pig state for technocracy. The Trilateral Commission, one of the major building blocks of the Trilateral Commission back in the 70s under Zbigniew Brzezinski with the Rockefeller Foundation, which Epstein worked for some reason at the age of 29, despite having no resume, and just happens to work with the Israeli government in missile trade deals. But anyway, the Trilateral Commission saw China as a guinea pig state for technocracy, and they propped up that system after Kissinger met with Mao in the early 70s to create an alliance with China for trade. It's all built in stone here. This was scripted long ago, and now we see the U.S. and Canada and the U.K. deal with the exact same surveillance mechanisms that China had for many, many years, all bringing us under the roof of the digital ID and the CBDCs and the 15-minute city situation. And as we see these fires everywhere, they're really pushing, I believe, for that 15-minute city agenda. Now, Whitney Webb was saying this. This is from Wide Awake Media. They posted it earlier. It shut down the same day as Facebook launched. Listen to what she said in this clip regarding social media, which, again, is one of the main ways they're getting that social credit system on us. Check this out.
In 2004, there's another LifeLog program that gets, LifeLog program. LifeLog is a DARPA program that gets shuttered in the wake of the TIA explosion.
Right.
It shuts down the same day that Facebook is launched, and the project manager of LifeLog, Douglas Gage, later on was like, Facebook is exactly what I wanted LifeLog to end up becoming.
Fun.
Interesting that. And then Peter Thiel, fresh off of privatizing Total Information Awareness. And there's some detail we didn't get into there, like the involvement of Alan Wade and how that ties in with all this other stuff, and how the CIA had intimately been involved with TIA.
Yeah.
And that's why you have the CIA and Palantir coming together so early, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so
read the article.
Yes,
it's all in there.
Totally. So LifeLog was basically a way to create, the goal was to create basically a narration of a person's life in episodes, basically a surveillance log of everything you've ever done, in discrete episodes that are tied to like geolocation, like where you are and who you're with photographic evidence and like all of this other stuff. So like, I mean, it's literally is Facebook.
Right.
And then Facebook launches straight out of this DARPA program. Shocking, isn't it? Well, now at the same time, we have talked about this many times, including in my speech, the tyranny of convenience, which I did at Anarchapulco back in February of this year in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. I urge people to check out my speech on that on Rumble as well. But I talk about the fact that, with these social media networks, these social media heads are meeting with the Chinese government and stuff, which is, again, propped up as that guinea pig state for technocracy. Yet this is in countries where these social media networks are banned. And we have X and all that stuff taken over by Elon Musk, a technocrat who wants everyone on UBI without jobs. And, don't worry, you won't have poverty in the future. You'll have digital ID and all that kind of stuff. And wants to put chips in your brain attached to a Pentagon-funded mesh network. I mean, wants humanoid robots in your home, wants you to basically be dependent on a satellite internet system, which, by the way, eventually you'll need a password to get into, and that's the point. with what we see with the social media bans across the board, which I've gone into in depth before, both on a live show, I've done reports on it, etc. We know that the system isn't about saving kids. It's about getting you to give your ID to access websites. That includes pornography in some places in the United States, like Missouri and Texas and Florida, etc., which, again, we don't want children watching pornography, but be a parent. Do better, parents. Come on. Simultaneously, you have the push to ban social media networks for children, saying it hurts their minds. The government hurts their minds. The government knows they're still in school. They're still being pulled along. They don't want kids early on learning about maybe some kind of conspiracy or something. But they know that adults that are set in their ways and aren't on a learning journey really will still continue to follow the media and follow social media and be controlled in a way that they wouldn't be otherwise, while kids are still in that government school system being indoctrinated anyway. And at the same time, kill two birds with one stone. Hey, you need an ID to access these websites. And by the way, and it's all about your social credit profile. We all know that. But, by the way, I want to point out they're already pushing for bills to make it so no matter what website you go to on the internet, just accessing your laptop, accessing your desktop, accessing your tablet or your phone, to get on the internet, you will need ID anyway. And if you have a Samsung phone, you already have a Samsung ID. If you have a Google phone, you already have a Google ID. If you have an iPhone, you already have an Apple ID. These things are already attached to you and to your identity in a way that I don't think most people even recognize yet. So the age verification thing is tied directly to this social media thing. And what's more, we have the push for 5 years of social media history mandated by the U.S. government, by the Trump administration, to enter the country. They say 99% of Canadians are not affected by the proposal, which targets countries using the ESTA system. But basically, they can go into, and this is just a beginning planting of a seed. They can to enter the country, they'll have to look at your social media history. They'll have to look at 5 years of it, 10 years of email history, photo metadata, where the photos were taken, etc., and, of course, biometrics and thumbprints and all that kind of stuff. And so this is how they're using that system one way or another. These kids won't have it, so you will have to show digital IDs to access the internet. Simultaneously, the adults that are traveling will have to show all this history of their social media platforms in order, including your private messages and all that, to enter the country. They're doing the same thing with banks right now, where you have to show evidence of being a citizen to get a bank account in the future. And they're doing a new system in place for the banking system, which is crumbling at the seams anyway and doesn't have depositors' money. Be interesting how this works out. To show your information down to the detail of your immigration status to access a bank account. So I'm Canadian. Let's say I have an American bank account. I'm basically screwed in the future. This is part of, and by the way, all these banks will be collateralized and they'll be put into one big centralized hub eventually, probably at the Treasury, but also it could just be through a private company that takes over as a so-called emergency response to a collapse of that system. But nonetheless, we will be in that surveilled system somehow. And the FDIC can't insure your money, so the money's gone, but they can give you credits in place of it. I believe that's where they're going eventually. Now, the UK police, according to Zero Hedge here and author Steve Watson over at Modernity News, UK police literally have an elite squad to flag spicy social media posts. Britain's latest free speech assault is underway. It says here, an elite police unit set up by the Labour government has already flagged more than 100 social media posts to local forces monitoring online protest-related activity in a move critics brand a sinister step towards state control of speech. The National Internet Intelligence Investigation Team, created in the wake of the 2024 Southport riots, began operations in February. Freedom of information figures obtained by the Telegraph and reported today show it has made 106 referrals of suspicious posts to forces across the country. Every single way, shape, and form, my friends, you are being watched. Now, nothing really is secure. I've talked to some people about this. I've talked to Chris Horlocker about this, by the way, which I urge people to check out my interview with Chris Horlocker called Government Gang Stalking is Real, which it sounds like a crazy title. Check it out. It's very important. These things are real. He's suing the government right now, and I urge people to check out his petition, equibitlawsuit.com, equibitlawsuit.com. Over that, it should be in the links below. But nothing is actually secure, and as something I talked with Chris about, literally anything you ever do on your phone or your computer, no matter what you think, how encrypted you think it is, everything is seen because it's going through your system at the end of the day, and things can be recorded, things can be taken from the screen, from the metadata, etc. Kim Dotcom was just on Tucker Carlson. He said this in this clip.
Are any communications apps, Signal, WhatsApp, iMessage, or any of them actually secure?
No.
Not even Signal?
No, not at all. Signal is the worst.
What? How is Signal the worst?
Because everyone is using it, and the U.S. government is laughing because they have a big door. Yeah.
But I mean, people with, I happen to know, with real secrets use Signal, and they're convinced that no one can hear or read them on Signal, but they're wrong.
So Signal is not secure. There's nothing I would recommend other than not using any communication tools at all.
So if you wanted to, I don't know, organize resistance to tyranny, you couldn't.
No, you can't. You can't. Because all the tools are being watched.
It's crazy how he kind of sounds like Henry Kissinger these days. He had a stroke a while back ago, so I think he must have a hard time talking now. But it's interesting. And actually, I've had Kim Dotcom's phone number for like 10 years and never called it. I should really reach out to him. It's interesting because like all of the tools are compromised to some degree. Even like Session is something I really have liked. I think Session is a cool app. But again, if you're using it on a smartphone, what does that mean? Smartphone, it's intelligence, and it's being used by intelligence agencies to see what you're doing at all times of the day. This is technocracy, my friends. This is the reset. This is exactly what the World Economic Forum has pushed for, and this is exactly how people fall into the trap because convenience. Tyranny comes under the guise of convenience. It's what they do. It's how they control us, utilizing these surveillance techniques. Anyway, I mean, this is happening. We've seen some pushback. Interesting that this is even a conversation that's being had, but we're in 2026, so no one should be surprised at this point. Zero Hedge reports Seattle mayor targets surveillance pricing at grocery stores. Surveillance pricing, they can find you and determine the pricing on things based on what you buy, based on how you act, based on who you are, social media, all those different kinds of things. Mass surveillance, determining if you're going to pay more than another person for the same thing at a grocery store. This is absolutely insane. Now, the Seattle leaders are moving forward with a first-of-its-kind proposal aimed at preventing grocery retailers from using consumers' personal data to charge different prices for the same product. The ordinance, backed by Mayor Katie Wilson and City Council members Alexis Mercedes Rink and Dion Foster, would prohibit large grocery chains from using information such as browsing history, social media activity, employment status, race, gender, or chatbot interactions to personalize prices, according to Wilson's website. It's insane. All that stuff is already, remember, taken. The data's there. The data is there, my friends. Instead, retailers, it says, would be required to publicly display uniform prices, which still while still allowing traditional discounts for seniors, veterans, loyalty programs, and other transparent promotions. Now, the fact that this was even a proposal in the first place is crazy. But again, they'll say, "Oh, well, it's to help the less, advantaged people, less privileged, whatever you want to call it." I could see, senior discounts and all that kind of stuff for sure. And stores can do whatever they want, but taking your data from, chatbot interactions and everything, the cookies on these sites, they all add up, my friends. This is why I tell people to be very vigilant with their interactions with AI and all these different things and clearing caches. But again, at the end of the day, as Kim Dotcom mentioned here, nothing is sacred.
Or
everything.
Any communications apps.
Everything is surveilled in one form or another. And by the way, this is how they get you for social credit. This is the slippery slope. Without a doubt in my mind, this is a slippery slope into full-fledged social credit, which of course China capitalized on first with Sesame Credit, their system. And the fact that they have browsing history, social media activity, again, social media activity. Hey, there you have it. There you have it, my friends. It should concern everyone. They are readying for the ration system. I have to remind people again, shameless plug, heavensharvest.com. Use code WHAM, W-A-M, to get 25% off on long-term storable foods that are non-GMO, organic kits, heirloom seeds, water filtration storage, books on how to get started. They will shut you out of the food system eventually. So again, get 25% off when you use code WHAM, W-A-M. Shameless plug, yes. But to me, a real-world solution that I hope people take seriously. So anyway, moving on here. I don't even want to move on because this is so insane, but we have to. And it's cool that people are pushing back, but to what extent is that going to work? Now, this is interesting. Adam Media, or Adam, A-D-A-M-E Media, wrote on X this: Murder AI Palantir has just unleashed its newest AI assassination surveillance system in collaboration with the War Department. It always eventually leads to death. It always eventually leads to death. And like as Aaron Day wrote it below, and I should be interviewing him shortly, but Aaron Day wrote below, get them to believe I'm a libertarian and then build a technocratic death cult. And it shows Peter Thiel with the beret on from the Truman Show. Let's hear what they say here in this clip.
This is Maven Smart System, Palantir's software as a service product that we are deploying across the entire department. As you can see, it's not just one data feed, it's multiple. And instead of having 8 or 9 systems for those decision makers to look at every single day in order for them to make decisions, you then fuse it into a single visualization tool. The single visualization tool allows you to select, deselect different types of data, look at different approaches to data, but more importantly, action from the same system that you're trying to develop your workflows around. Once you have a detection that you want to actually move into a targeting workflow, for example, this is what we do. Left click, right click, left click, magically, it becomes a detection. That detection then gets moved into a workflow. This is standard digitized workflow, but I want to walk you through it quickly. You have different types of targets that are identified on the left there. Every single column produces a different type of decision-making process. Once you have that decision and you're trying to actually action that process, we now move into COA generation, course of action generation, where we are automatically, via a number of factors, trying to identify what the best asset to prosecute a target looks like. Once we've got the different approaches and we select one, we then can move directly into how do we action that target. So we've gone from identifying the target to now coming up with a course of action to now actioning that target, all from one system. This is revolutionary. We were having this done in...
Click that button, death. That's what it's saying. Click that button and death. Let's see. There's a judge's hammer and it says approved. Approved. Smack, computer vision detection, Palantir, clicks a button, boom, death.
About 8 or 9 systems where humans were literally moving detections left and right in order to get to our desired end state. In this case,
there's the explosion.
Actually closing a kill chain.
Absolutely insane, my friends, that we're putting up with this. And by the way, I want to point out that, Palantir also famously was running the drones that were indiscriminately bombing kids in Palestine and Gaza, and then also on top of that had facial recognition on it, which determined whether people could eat or not and get aid food from the aid vehicles, that the ones that got through without getting bombed by Israel. And it's like, that's coming to a place near you soon. So the grocery store surveillance, the flock cameras, the social media surveillance, the internet IDs and digital IDs, and then the banks all being collateralized under one roof, as I reported on before. And again, then these Chinese-style drones all over with nests everywhere. And again, death. They could just blow you up. This is how far it's been pushed, and no one seems to care. People go, "Oh yeah, we always knew it. Oh look, we were proven right. Conspiracy proven right." Well, now they're doing these things. Now they are committing to these things. Now they're actually involved in these nefarious actions, and people just go, "I guess we were right." But nothing is done about it. And what do we do about it? How do we deal with this situation? Obviously, withdrawing from the system as much as humanly possible. That is, as always, the number one approach, in my opinion. Like, look at this. From designed viruses to digital telepathy, AI panic kicks into overdrive. They're pushing this idea of humanoid skin on robots. They're talking about, Sam Altman's talking about AI granting you wishes like a genie in a bottle. And they're talking about designing viruses, reading your mind, all that kind of stuff. And it is a major concern, and people may act like, oh, it's just a lot of fear mongering, but it's all happening right now. And they are openly saying, we got an open door to this because we're a private company. We are not, beholden to the Constitution in any way. And by the way, I see the word kill switches here and shutting down bank accounts. There was 86 million bank accounts shut down in Vietnam over people not wanting the digital IDs and biometrics, but also in Canada, as I recently reported on Bill C-8, which has gone through, them being able to go to your internet providers, and you say negative things about the government, they could just shut down your internet just like that in Canada. I mean, we are at a very dangerous, ugly point in history for humanity, because humanity is based on individualism, self-responsibility, freedom. These are things that I truly believe in. And by the way, I just want to point out that these viruses that they speak of, they're not really viruses. It's probably nanotech. It's probably poisoning of the well, that kind of thing. But they want us dependent because they depend on the dependence of the masses to survive. That is what the state needs in order to survive. So in what they're doing here, they're making us completely dependent on them, so that we have thrown away what it means to be human. We have thrown away what made humanity so great in the first place, that we can, be spoiled by so many different conveniences. And it has all come to the end of the line. The dominoes have fallen, and we're coming close to the last one. And what do we do from there? Well, they always say strong men create good times create weak men create hard times create strong men in a circle. And we are definitely at weak men create hard times, and we're about to face those hard times, because if we are this dependent on the system and we just give up our whole reason on the food chain for existing, where does that put us next? Where does that put us next? Meanwhile, they're burning cities in Canada. This is around Summerlin, BC, not entirely far from where I am. Apocalyptic. And they just happen to have 15-minute city proposals in these places that are on fire.
Fuck me, man. I don't want to say goodbye to it all.
I think you gotta. Sad. It's true.
Power lines are down. Oh, man.
These fires in Canada are insane. I've already reported on it. You can check out my past reports on it. I go outside, and all I can taste in my mouth when I breathe is the taste of like bug spray. It doesn't smell like smoke at all. And I know a lot of other people around here that have grown up around here, and they go like, yeah, we have fires all the time, but like it usually smells like a campfire. There's no smoke smell. It smells like chemicals.
This is upsetting.
A lot of people say glyphosate.
This is really fucking upsetting.
Horrific.
Holy shit.
And I truly believe, just with the patterns of these fires, that they're being set on purpose. And I think that there are very evil people in power that are trying to destroy those in independent, smaller communities, in more rural communities that are more self-sustainable, and also in order to roll out these 15-minute city grids. Again, as the World Economic Forum said in 2022 in their paper My Carbon on their website, they said COVID was a litmus test for compliance to bring in 15-minute cities, technocratic control, and all this, the digital system. And now we are getting to that end point. And we need to take our own precautions very seriously. Again, links in the description. Thanks for watching, everybody. And again, I urge people to go and follow us on Patreon and subscribe to our pledge, $5 a month or more, to get our full shows. We have a lot of other stuff that happens in each show. Some of them are 2.5 hours long. This one was an hour and a half. Every Sunday, 2 p.m. at PDT, we have these shows. And of course, they go in depth into many different topics. I want to once again thank our sponsor for today, EquibitLawsuit.com. Again, it is in the description, and support what Chris Horlocker is doing in holding these people accountable in government who are surveilling us, and who are, again, if it's happening to him and it happens to me, it's going to eventually happen to you, if not already. And it's important, and I urge people to take this action as one way to push back against this incredibly nefarious and dangerous system that is growing with the move towards technocracy, digital IDs, and all this stuff worldwide. So again, go and check out EquibitLawsuit.com. Until next time, my friends, check those links below. This is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.